Hello, this is Ms. Lara of the Stevenson Public Library. Today we'll be reading from The Homework Machine by Dan Gutman. We're on our final chapter, Chapter 10 today. We hope you enjoy the conclusion of The Homework Machine. Chapter 10, Summer. Sam Dawkins, Grade 5. So school ends and we figure that's that. We got away with it. When we went into the principal's office for that meeting, we all played dumb. Homework machine? What homework machine? We pretended we didn't know what he was talking about. There was no evidence. Nobody could prove anything. Sam's mom. I was dusting his room and I noticed that nice new computer wasn't there anymore. So I asked Sam where it was. He said Brenton asked for it back. I never called to check to see if it was true. Police Chief Rebecca Fish. In early June, 2 backpackers came across some junk scattered around the bottom of the canyon, not far from the river. It had obviously been dropped off the rim. Luckily, the stuff didn't land on them. The backpackers alerted the park ranger. He contacted me. Most of the pieces were too small to identify, but a few things looked like they might have been part of a computer. Who chucks a computer into the Grand Canyon? I put out the word to all the companies, organizations, and schools within 10 miles. We have strict rules against dumping debris in a national park, you know. Visitors want to see nature, not somebody's trash. Miss Rasmussen, 5th grade teacher. I was washing the dinner dishes when our principal, Mr. Wilson, called and told me about pieces of a computer being found in the canyon. I didn't want to think that my students had anything to do with it, but I couldn't help but wonder. I told him I had a theory about what happened. I guess he made a few phone calls. Judy Douglas, Grade 5. That was probably the most humiliating experience of my life. School had just let out for the summer, and the 4 of us were called into the sheriff's office. We didn't know why. Our parents had to come, and Miss Rasmussen was there too. They sat us down at this big table, and in the middle of the table was a piece of belch, the busted-up keyboard. Nobody had to say a word. We knew what had happened. Sam Dawkins, Grade 5. So they ask us if anybody has anything to say, and we all just sit there, not looking at each other. We could have blamed the whole thing on Brenton. I have to admit the thought crossed my mind. He invented the thing, right? And he couldn't keep the secret. He invented the catapult, too. But I couldn't rat him out. Brenton was my friend. They had no evidence to tie us to the keyboard. It could have been anybody's keyboard. We could have gotten away with it. But then Judy just burst into tears, and the jig was up. Kelsey Donnelly, Grade 5. Judy started crying, so I got up and said, it was all my fault. I did it. Look, Brenton and Judy are geniuses. They shouldn't be prevented from going to college or doing something great with their lives because they made one stupid mistake in 5th grade. I didn't want Snick to take the rap either after his dad died just a few months ago. Miss Rasmussen, 5th grade teacher. After Kelsey confessed, Judy shouted out that Kelsey was lying and that she was responsible for the whole thing. Everybody was shocked. I couldn't imagine Judy doing something like that. Then Brenton started yelling, No, it's all my idea. The 4 of them started arguing about which one of them was most to blame, and instead of blaming each other, they all blamed themselves. They were all apologizing at once. I had never seen anything like it. Thinking it over, I decided somebody else was really to blame. Me. I should have known what was going on months earlier. I was naive. I should have been more on top of things. They did it right under my nose. I so wanted my students to be successful, and I wanted to think that they were successful because of my teaching. I guess the sad truth is that I still have a lot to learn about teaching, and I can't be so trusting with students in the future. I'll be more careful next year. I told the kids that they didn't have to go off and invent a homework machine because a homework machine already exists. It's called your brain. Police Chief Rebecca Fish. When the kids were called into my office, that threw a scare into them. They confessed to everything. They seemed genuinely sorry for what they did, so I went easy on them. Made 'em hike down to the bottom of the canyon on a hot day and clean up the mess. Took 'em all day. Then I made 'em come into the office over the summer and say what happened so we got it on record. Far as I'm concerned, this case is closed. Kelsey Donnelly, grade 5. I figured that was the end of it. School was over. Summer was here. I wouldn't be seeing Snick or Judy or Brenton again until September. I don't know why, but I dyed my hair brown again and took out the belly button ring. I guess I just thought it was stupid. Judy Douglas, grade 5. We were leaving the sheriff's office, and I knew that if I didn't say anything, I wouldn't see any of them for 3 months. So I worked up the courage and walked up to Brenton and asked him if he wanted to go out with me. What would that entail? That's the way he put it. What would that entail? He cracks me up. So I told him it meant we might get together over the summer, get some ice cream or pizza or hang out and talk and stuff. He said that sounded good to him, so I guess we're going out. I think so anyway. Brenton Damagachi, grade 5. In honor of the beginning of summer, I decided to part my hair on the opposite side of my head. I really don't care about the way I look, but I read on some website that when you flush a toilet in the southern hemisphere, the water swirls clockwise, and when you flush a toilet in the northern hemisphere, the water swirls counterclockwise. So I thought it would be interesting to part my hair in opposite directions during summer and winter months. And Judy likes it better this way too. Sam Dawkins, grade 5. I was thinking it over. In the beginning of the year, we all thought Brenton was a dork of the highest order, but I decided that Brenton was probably the coolest kid I ever met, and that includes me. Coolness doesn't come from having cool stuff or hanging with cool people. It's not cool to try to be cool. It's cool to not try to be cool. Brenton just does his own thing. He's one of those guys who is so uncool that he's cool. You know what I mean? You reach a point where you cross the line into coolness. Anyway, after school ended, I decided to call him up. He said, "To do what? We don't have any homework." And I said, "I don't know. You want to play a game of chess?" And he said, "Okay." Kelsey Donnelly, grade 5. I never thought I'd hear from Judy, but she called me up right after school ended. She said that Brenton and Snick were going to play chess over at Brenton's house, and she was going too. And did I want to come? Brenton's parents weren't home, but my mom said it was okay, so I said sure. By the time I got there, Snick and Brenton were already going at it hot and heavy all year long. Snick refused to play Brenton, and now they were finally playing each other. I mean, it was intense in there. It was like the Super Bowl of chess. The two of them were staring at the board so hard, I thought it was going to burst into flames. I didn't say a word. All I knew about chess was what Miss Rasmussen had told us. I counted up the pieces on both sides, and Brenton had one more pawn than Snick. That was the only difference, so I knew it was a close game. Every so often, Brenton would mutter something mysterious like, "Classic Sicilian defense," or, the old Benko gambit. I had no idea what he was talking about. I'm not sure if Snick did either. Judy Douglas, grade 5. Brenton was sweating and fidgeting and talking to himself. I couldn't believe Snick was giving him a good game. I remember thinking back in September how Snick was so dumb, and now he was holding his own at chess with the smartest guy in maybe the whole world. I was rooting for Brenton, of course, because he was my boyfriend. Kelsey Donnelly, grade 5. We took a break to eat some cookies Mrs. Damagachi had left, and I noticed that Brenton and Judy were holding hands. Holding hands! So I say, "Are you two going out or what?" Brenton just looked all embarrassed, but Judy said, "Yeah, we're going out." I knew it. So while they were off being all lovey-dovey with each other, Snick came over to me and asks me if I want to go get ice cream or something after the game. Can you believe that? Sam Dawkins actually asked me out. I tried to be cool about it. I said, "Are you just asking me out because Brenton and Judy are going out? or do you really want to go out with me? And he says, I really want to go out with you. I wanted to ask you out ever since school started, but I was too shy. Him? Shy? Unbelievable. I couldn't resist giving Snick a hard time. I said, you need Brent and Tamagotchi to give you the courage to ask a girl out? How pathetic. Then I said, sure, I'd go out with him.